Welcome to my presentation, The Age of Civic Illiteracy, Teaching Plan to Implement Civic Literacy into 21st Century Skills, Language Arts. The reason I chose civic literacy for this presentation is because through the years I have observed our country's morale fall apart mainly because people are misinformed about government and about civics and economics. Years ago, I remember watching Jaywalking, in which Jay Leno would interview people on the street by asking them basic citizenship questions, as in, what is the Emancipation Proclamation? What are the three branches of government? And who is the vice president? Sadly, many did not know the answer. Though it was entertaining to watch, the fact that many Americans don't know basic civics is very worrisome. It fuels misinformation and baseless decisions. For example, Jimmy Kimmel conducted a similar experiment and asked random Americans on the street of New York if our country should attack North Korea. And while most said yes, they could not give an explanation as to why we should, and they couldn't even point out North Korea on a map. This is an example of how most people base their opinions on sound bites from the media, but really don't know facts, background, or statistics. More than a third of Americans surveyed can't name any of the rights guaranteed under the First Amendment. Only a quarter of Americans can name all the three branches of government, and 52% of Americans can't name a Supreme Court justice. We kind of know what the consequences and dangers of a civically disengaged and civically illiterate society are. One is very prevalent as we see that we live in a highly divided nation. The following is a quote from the National Civic League from an article that was on there. An uneducated and disengaged populace creates fertile ground for misinformation to take root. Historical and civic ignorance contributes to the polarization that is generated on social media. It's easier for the technology to have such a powerful effect if you start with no foundation. That quote is Paul Caruso's, and he's a political scientist. So civic literacy is the stronger foundation that he's speaking of, because when we know how government works, we won't fall for just anything. Furthermore, the article discusses how civic illiteracy fuels conspiracy theories, and how some of these conspiracy theories really cause immense social problems like lack of voter turnout and people's reaction to like the coronavirus pandemic. So we do know that civic illiteracy contributes to increases in social polarization and hostility toward opposing views. I must say that English language arts is the perfect content for teaching media literacy and also civic literacy, because the tools that are taught in language arts, the skills that are taught in language arts like critical thinking and reading and writing, are central to becoming literate with media and civic. So language arts is central. If you look at this figure, the first candy wrapper was pretty, what you see is what you get. You read a book and you can teach it. But with media literacy, the bowl is more dynamic, and each candy represents a dimension to media literacy, which is audience, content, credibility, global audience. So media literacy is one of the most complicated subjects that we can teach our students today. Create civics-oriented assignments in which students would learn the functions of government, but a topic we don't hear much about when teaching civic literacy is how important it is to teach students to have civic discourse. And this also fits into the CTE skills of communication and collaboration. If people can't communicate effectively with each other, then what is the point of civic literacy? In encouraging in students To communicate and collaborate, my first lesson would be to have them handwrite tweets to each other as a biweekly exercise. For example, a student will write an original tweet and a fellow student must respond on the sheet, and both students carry on the tweeting responses for that day. The catch is that all must be respectful, thoughtful, and ethical. I believe that having them handwrite it makes the experience far more organic and helps them to ask themselves the question if what they would handwrite to an individual in person, if they would post that as well on social media. So if you don't do it in real person, you won't do it on social media. So it gets them to ponder what they say before saying it or post before posting it. The second project is a TED Talk project. To promote civil literacy, students must learn media literacy, but also prove that they can use it effectively, as in creating their own. A major project I would implement would be an expert-led TED Talk. The following is stated about TED Talks by the National Library of Medicine. Beginning of quote, the TED Talks website is the fourth most popular technology website and the single most popular conference and events website in the world. So I believe that it's important to use TED Talk as a prototype type of communication in the 21st century. So therefore, it's a skill that we should teach. Students will have a 3-month-long research project regarding a civics topic, as in voting, civil rights, environmental crisis, partisan politics, social media impacts on society. They will write an extensive paper and they will be expected to become an expert in the area. But the final project will be that they will write and deliver their own 20-minute TED Talk speech, and adults like teachers, parents, members of the community will be invited to watch these speeches on TED Talk night. The purpose of this project is to promote knowledge in an area of civic research, give students confidence to become well-versed in an area of knowledge, and leadership, of course, give students a sense of social responsibility and promote civil engagement, and give students the opportunity to develop presentation skills using media. So it's also a form of media training. So the benefits of teaching using 21st century skills is that teachers could work together more collaboratively and integrate their content curriculum. And this creates a larger sense of community, but it also makes teaching more effective and efficient. And the second one is teachers may find it easier to implement student-centered teaching, which is a favorable approach to teaching that many teachers have, because in attaining these 21st century skills, students are more willing and to have to take leadership and to use to participate in hands-on lessons. So this definitely encourages student-centered teaching. So as with all progressive and positive changes come big challenges. So teaching these skills require more accommodations, time, resources, and sometimes schools are limited in their resources and instructors are limited on their resources and time. However, part of the challenge is to find these solutions together and working together into this new paradigm, and keeping our minds open is the win-win way to go.